Hey everybody, David here, and we are so back with another video. And today we are going to be talking about warming up and how that can affect your exercise session in a positive or possibly a negative way. And in my opinion, with warming up, I'm a big fan of it. I'm just going to tell you right now. And if you're interested to see why warm-ups are so beneficial in my opinion, feel free in the comments down below to say something that you want to see some research articles or something of that jazz, and I can send those your way or put them in the comments down below so you can check those out. But warm-up might be something that you really want to start doing before your exercise session because, like I said, there's a lot of research currently out that you might be losing out on some gains or some progression in your program because you're not warming up properly or you're not doing any warm-up at all. So in this video, I'm going to do my best to explain some pros and some cons and possibly why you need to be doing this warm-up before your exercise session to see more gains out of your whole workout program or exercise session and all. Now, if you're still curious about how to program or types of training, anything of that jazz, after this video, make sure to go check out my other fitness videos to help you out with that. Very open to beginner, intermediate, or advanced athletes or fitness enthusiasts. Anybody can watch them. Anybody can learn stuff off of them, and I greatly appreciate your support. Now, let's hop in to warming up. So, with the warm-up, basically, it's pretty self-explanatory in the name. Warm-up's has a crucial role, in preparing your body for physical activity. Here are some pros and cons along with the science of warming up and basically why you should be doing the warm-up before your session, or possibly, you might see the negative benefits of the warming up. But hopefully after this you can form your own opinion and see what you think is best for your programming, for your exercise session, any of that type of jazz. So some pros of the warming up exercise: you're going to increase the blood flow. Straight at the start, you're going to get better blood flow into the muscles, into the body. And thinking about that, we need to make sure we're getting proper blood flow to those muscles, because that's what's going to make the muscle that's going to help you get that pump in that workout, okay? So warming up increases blood flow to the muscles, kind of what I mentioned before, delivers oxygen and nutrients, and removes waste products. So basically, blood has oxygen in it, and you're putting it to the muscle, and if you're getting proper blood flow to that muscle, you might be able to work out longer, or you might be able to put a little bit more damage in the muscle, which goes along with working out longer because you have more oxygen in the muscle to do the work that is required of it. And also, it takes away the bad stuff in the muscle, so the muscle can go longer and work properly, of course. And then, like nutrients, of course, we think about nutrients, we think about putting food on our body. Well, blood flow helps out with that in the muscle. Think about it in that way, but just inside your body, if that makes sense. And improved muscle elasticity. This may help with the muscle elasticity and joint mobility, reducing the risk of injury before intense exercise. And kind of what I mentioned before, there's been research out there currently now that I've kind of read, and when I'm in school currently, that basically doing a warm-up might help you have less cause of injury during your workout. And, a lot of people associate the injury with the cool down. We should be thinking about that warm-up. If we're warming up properly, putting the right things in place during your workout session, then that warm-up is going to be very important for that decreased risk of injury. And, think about it like it's, like I mentioned, joint mobility. Think about the joints getting basically like lubed up. Like it's like a car, you need to take it into the shop, get it lubed up, make sure things are working right. Well, that's how basically when the body's warming up, you're lubing it up properly to make sure the body works correctly. Kind of like when you're taking that car into that oil, to get an oil change, for prime example. And then muscle elasticity, all that means is basically, the concentric, eccentric movements. It's basically your muscle is going to be able to handle those more efficiently. That's what I mean. And when I say concentric, concentric shortening of the muscle, eccentric is lengthening of the muscle. Now, more pros with the warming up. Enhanced performance. Warm-ups can enhance performance by increasing muscle temperature neurotransmission speed, and muscle contraction efficiency. And the reason all those are very important is basically neurotransmission speed. Basically, the faster your nervous system can send to those muscles, the better you'll be able to do that rep or to finish out your sets, for prime example, because your muscle is going to be working, like I mentioned before, efficiently to have that mind-muscle connection to make sure those muscles are working properly. And going off the muscle and temperature, it's always good to have increased muscle temperature, because basically you're creating friction inside the body, which is going to increase that blood flow. It's going to warm you up. Basically, going back to the name, warm up, and the muscle is going to be ready for more work, okay? It's not going to be cold. It needs to be warm to being able to do heavier sets or heavier weights, for prime example. And then mental preparation. Basically, this also prepares you mentally for your upcoming workout, improve focus and readiness. So basically, you see people taking like caffeine or supplements or anything like that. You might just need to straight up do a warm-up, and that might help you get into the zone and get you focused for that workout and get your body ready for that demands you're going to put on it during your session. That might be something to think about. You might just skip the pre-workout and hop right into a warm-up. That might be enough to get you in the zone and the right state of mind to have that great workout that day. And here's some cons. Like I said, I always like giving you some pros. I like giving you some cons, just making sure you know, hey, there's positives and negatives of this. But I kind of feel like, and this is a lot of things in life, I always think about the pros and the cons, and then I'm like, okay, that's what we're going to do. If the pros outweigh the cons, that's what I'm going to do. So the cons of the warming up, which is time, it's time consuming. So basically, some people may not have time to warm up, and they're in a hurry to start the workout. Let's say you're on your lunch break working out. A warm-up might not be good for you in that certain scenario. So it's something to think about. If you're in a time crunch, you might have to skip the warm-up, go straight into your workout. But I encourage you to maybe start with some type of movement in that workout. So let's say you got 35 minutes. Maybe that first 2 or 3 minutes you're doing like a light set or a heavy set, getting those muscles warmed up and making sure that you're not causing injury to yourself. So just mimicking the movements that you're doing, or maybe adding an extra set to your workout. So if you do 3 sets, maybe do 4, and you can get that done in a 30-45 minute interval so you don't feel rushed. But going back to the cons, it might be time consuming for somebody. And then over warming up, that is a thing as well. If you are doing it over like too much or at too much intensity or excessively, warming up can lead to fatigue or reduced performance during the main workout. So I always recommend to my clients, athletes, people I work with, 10 to 15 minutes or even 5 minutes. So 5 to 15 minutes, that sweet spot to warm up. Just make sure you're not, like it mentions, over warming up, because that could cause some detriment to your main workout and you could be losing gains from that. And that's not good. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for that progressive overload, being able to lift more. And if you're over warming up, then that's going to reduce that performance during that main workout, kind of what I mentioned before. So a little bit of thoughts about what happens in the body during warming up. So going back to the increased blood flow again, this causes vasodilation, widening of the blood vessels to increase blood flow. That's all vasodilation means. Basically, your blood vessels are widening so it can get more blood into that muscle. And this brings more oxygen and nutrients. Going back to that, mentioned that before. It's basically, you think about food. Well, the food for the muscles during the workout, your blood, getting that oxygen in there, making sure it's working properly. Muscle temperature, we touch on this a little bit. So warm-ups increase muscle temperature, making the muscles more pliable and less prone to injury. So basically all that means is the muscles are nice and warm and ready for heavier loads or heavier progression in that workout. So you don't have to start off with something small or something that can be detrimental to the body. So starting out very cold per se, and making sure that the body's just warmed up properly. I know it's kind of common sense with that word, but... And then neuroactivation. They activate the nervous system. We talked about that a little bit. Improving muscle coordination and response time. So basically all this means is your nervous system is going to be able to fire signals down to the muscle quicker, which might lead to improved performance. Along with that muscle coordination, that mind-muscle connection, that's also very important. Making sure if you're doing an exercise, prime example of a back row, like a barbell row, making sure you're using all those back muscles to pull. You're not using your front delts to pull. You're not using your glutes. You're not using your lower back to pull. We're going to be using those lats. We're going to be using upper back. You might get some lower back activation, but we want to make sure that we're keeping the core tight and doing that rope properly. So it's going back to the neuroactivation, making sure that mind muscle connection, you're feeling that all in the back, okay? And like I said, you will feel a little bit in the lower back, but you don't want to feel the whole thing in the lower back, because usually barbell row, you're working on the upper back or you're working on the lats a little bit, okay? Physiological preparation. So basically, it helps you get physically ready and mentally ready for that workout, enhancing your motivation to be excited to get those gains or get that progression in the gym that you were looking for. So some good ways to warm up. Here's a few things I wanted to touch on. So dynamic stretching, incorporating dynamic stretching that mimics the movements of your workout, but at lower intensities. So basically a dynamic stretching is kind of like when you see people doing, arm circles, high knees, something in that sort of way. Maybe some air squats, any of that type of jazz might be a good way to warm up. So dynamic warm up. Second is cardiovascular exercise. Start with a light cardiovascular exercise like jogging, cycling, jumping jacks to elevate the heart rate and warm up the muscles. Might be an incline walk. That's also a good one. But going back to that dynamic stretching again, I'm a big fan of doing a general warm-up and then a specific warm-up. So making sure you're doing general stuff. So let's say you have leg day. I'm going to do just general things. I'm going to do that cardiovascular exercise to warm up. And then that last 5 minutes, let's say I'm doing a 10-minute, I'm going to be doing some type of squat, maybe some glute bridges, body weight, any of that type of stuff. Joint mobility exercises. So you might want to include this. This basically targets joint mobility such as leg swings, arm circles, hip rotations. All those are very good to get the joints warmed up and prepared for that workout you were doing in that day. And kind of like I mentioned before, it lubes it up, gets it ready to go, and making sure that it can prevent injury with proper joint stabilization, I guess, or joint mobility, however you want to prefer to use that. So activation drills, performing activation drills to specific muscles you are using, such as glute bridges for the lower body or shoulder rotations for the upper body workout. So basically all this is saying is you're doing a body weight exercise that's going to warm up the muscle, or you could be using a band as well to warm up that muscle group that you are currently doing. So making sure that mind muscle connection's there, doing stuff beforehand, basically before that workout, that's going to get your mind and your muscle on the same page to get better neural adaptations. And then sports-specific movements, kind of going back, you got general and specific. Sports activities include sports-specific movements in your warm-up to prepare the muscles and the neuromuscular pathways. So all that's basically saying with this is you are going to be playing a sport. Let's say you're doing basketball. You might want to do some layup drills to warm up. You might want to do some passing drills to back-to-back with a partner to warm up. That might be something general or specific to that sport that we might want to think about before we hop into the more advanced drills, for prime example. So basically, incorporating these strategies into your warm-up routine can effectively prepare your body for the demands of your workout. And hopefully after today's video, you all better understand what is needed to have a proper warm-up in place to make sure you don't get injured, to think of, hey, I need to do this. So I'm doing leg day, for prime example, so I need to do general to specific. If you're doing it in that way, general, like I said, it could be cardiovascular exercise, but for that specific warm-up, maybe some air squats, maybe some glute bridges, maybe any of those type of body movements would work. Or if you're doing basically like a back day, a pull-up might be a good warm-up. A banded pull-up, for prime example, using a banded, doing a banded lat pull-down, those might be all good, efficient ways. And make sure when we're doing warm-ups, I forgot to mention this too, try to stay away from static stretching, because that static warming up, what that basically means is you're in place and you're doing a stretch, and it's not going to benefit you. You're actually going to lose power, and you possibly are going to lose that warm sensation in those muscles, kind of what I mentioned before. That might be detrimental to those gains that you're looking for. So you might overstretch the muscle as well if you're doing static type of warming up. So avoid being stationary, doing those static stretches. If you're thinking about doing that, I would do it sometime later after your workout, for prime example. And try to avoid a lot of ballistic movements too. So there is ballistic warming up too. That's basically where you're bouncing all the time. That could be detrimental as well. You're prone to injury because that intensity is very high, kind of what I mentioned before. Lower that intensity, make sure the muscles are you're getting that mind-muscle connection prepared, and you're getting that muscle warm. It's not stiff. So, a lot of bouncing movements might be detrimental to that, might be leading to more injury. Yeah, so that is warming up, basically. Like I said, let me know in the comments down below if you're interested in some research articles on how warming up can be beneficial. And like I said, I'm a big proponent of warming up. I think you should do some type of warm-up, at least 5 to 15 minutes. And overall, warm-up has been proven here, in my notes, has been proven to have better performance in the gym. So it might increase your gains by a little bit. But don't take it to the extreme when I say that. Don't act like, oh, I'm going to gain so much muscle if I warm up. No, you might just feel better, and you'll have a better workout overall, so you might be able to lift more in that workout. I'm not saying you're going to be able to lift 45 more pounds. It might be only like 10 or 5 or 2.5, but still, something is better than nothing, and you have time to warm up. I highly encourage you to do that. But like I said, you got to look for yourself the pros and the cons. Let me know in the comments down below what you all do for warm-ups. I'll be very interested, to see how you all warm up and what you do for your warm-ups. If you're an athlete, I'll be encouraged to hear what you do for your warm-ups as an athlete. If you're a general fitness enthusiast, let me know what you do in the warm-ups down below for your program. I'm very curious overall. So hopefully all of you enjoyed the video, and I will see you on the next one.